Hey guys, for a very long time I wanted to build my own watch and today is the day. Thanks to Quinn Lai from DIY Watch Club, I did receive a GMT Coke today and I'm gonna be assembling it all together. This is not a sponsored post, I'm not being paid in any way, I'm not doing this for the money. This whole review is gonna be unbiased. It's something that I've been playing around with in terms of vintage watches, in terms of assembling, disassembling, but now I'm doing it to see what new consumers would actually like, as a kit, as a learning process into watchmaking. So it's just casing a watch that's already kind of put together almost. All you have to do is put on the hands, put it in the case, assemble the dial, a few little things that you have to do. This kit is quite interesting because it includes the tools, it includes the watch, the rubber band, everything is in the whole kit. That's why I also want to review the toolkit as much as the watch itself, because the tools are just as important as the watchmaker, if not more important than the watchmaker when you're actually starting. You need proper tools to do the proper work. We have an NH34 Seiko movement. We have everything to put the watch together. I'm not going to use any of my own tools. There's the learning process, there's videos that come with the whole thing, there's the whole process of putting it together, and the DIY Watch Club website offers you all of that all together. Again, I'm not being paid for this, I'm just assembling it and I'm gonna give my honest review throughout the whole video. The fun part about the whole video is that whatever I got gifted, I'm gonna gift back to people watching. Not only is the watch going to be gifted, but the toolkit will be gifted as well. There's going to be two winners, one that will win the watch and the other one will win the toolkit. Okay, so I wanted to keep that separate. This way it makes it more fun for you guys as well. To enter the giveaway, please visit the Time Merchant's website. We're going to choose 2 lucky winners once we reach the 1,000 entries. Why this matters for me a lot as a video is because a lot of people tell me I want to start a watchmaking journey, and for me this is the starting point. It's to actually dive in the watch, not be afraid of removing or adding hands, taking off a movement from a watch. That's the starting point. Everything else is a bit more advanced in a way. You have to take a bit more time, but that's the starting point. And for me, that's how I started to do it myself when I started basically taking apart the Rolexes. They're the easiest company to work with. They're pretty good in terms of how they build the movement and everything else, but Seiko is just as good, and the DIY Watch Club was nice enough to actually send us the watch. Let's start together, and hopefully it's going to help you guys to start your own journey into watchmaking as well. Let's dive in. I bought those watches because I know what they are. Do you know what they are? It's not impressive to spend money. It's impressive to actually have someone that took the time and did his due diligence to buy something that doesn't scream money but screams knowledge. Okay guys, so practically I haven't even looked at what is in here all the way in. So we have here a welcome aboard little card. He's asking you to have a surface like this one. In my case, it's because I'm banging on the surface, I'm cutting on the surface, I'm doing all sorts of things. So for me, it's perfect. I would be careful not to use it on wood unless you have some kind of wood that you don't care about. Especially if you have a stainless steel case, you might scratch it, so that's good. And he says prepare a device with internet access and go to the website. That's what I just did right here. And let's begin the watchmaking journey. So we have here a complete kit. Let's dive in. I'm gonna discover everything one by one. What we have here, I think, yeah, this is a movement holder slash dial holder, so we're gonna see all of that. And you're gonna see here there's a little pin that most probably avoids the whole movement from moving left and right. What we have here is basically something that will align this right, this side up, this side down. So those are alignment tools, I think, for the hands. Then we have the whole watch in parts. Let me just see here. So basically we have a bracelet with the DIY Watch Club. That's pretty soft, so this is pretty good. What we have here, obviously you're going to see it later. This is a spacer between the dial and the movement itself. This we're going to put aside here. We have the dial. We have a whole assembly kit. So we have a whole case. We have the crown, the bezel, have a whole movement. And here, I guess, are the hands. Let's see what else is in here. Okay, so you have two different GMT hands. I guess if you break one, you do have a second one, so that's super cool. I'm glad he thought about that. We have here GMT Seiko movement. It's pretty complete, so that's going to be pretty easy to put together. So you have the hour hand, the minute hand, and the seconds hand right here. Every single one of them has loom. Let's look at them with a black light. Let's see how well they loom, and they do seem to loom pretty well. We have the hands, we have the dial, the bezel insert, we have the bezel itself, the crystal, the case back, the crown, the whole movement, and we have a rubber band right here. What's missing? It's just us being intelligent enough to put it all together. So let's see how this is gonna work. So we have the whole kit laid out. Again, you can lay it out the way you want. You can do whatever. Just be really thorough, especially if you did it for first time. Okay, that's very important. Okay, so the kit we have right here, we have those tools that serve to actually push the hands onto the movement itself. Then the most important part, we have a screwdriver. I don't know if we have a lot of need for a screwdriver right here. I don't think we will. Then we have those tools here. They serve actually to remove the hands of the watch. And we have different ones, so I think that's pretty cool. I haven't seen those in other kits that are of this quality, so pretty happy with that. Then what we have here, okay, so this is basically a toolkit to remove spring bars from a watch. We're not gonna need it here because once it's installed, we don't really use those here. Then what we're gonna use different pliers for the hands and for the whole kit here. Most probably we're not gonna be using them other than the hands themselves. So this kit is really overkill for someone who's really introducing himself to watches and also who likes to fiddle around most probably his vintage pieces or open them up or whatnot. And this is basically even better than I was hoping. Then you have here, we call those cleaning pegs. It's serving to actually clean any dirt or anything that might be encrusted in the case or anywhere where you don't want dirt to go in. This is really good. You can also clean it up and basically cut it down. I use something similar here. They're just smaller myself, and I do use toothpicks all the time when I clean watches up. They're really perfect for everyday cleaning, not only for your teeth, but for your watch as well. Here, what we have here is a little pump, and it seems like it's pumping pretty well. Cool design, pretty modern, very easy to use. That's good as well. Then what we have here, we have a little loop. Seems of pretty good quality. It does come apart if you need to clean the lens, so this is good, and it looks like it's made out of aluminum, so that's a good one for the kit. Also for the screwdriver, I don't know if you saw, but you have different heads, so those look pretty solid. What I'm maybe not happy with is that most probably what's gonna happen, you're gonna be damaging the heads. So I don't see anything here on the top that might have replacement heads for those, and those are pretty easy to take off. So you basically slide it in, slide it out, and they look like they're holding pretty well in there. And I'm pretty happy with this, pretty well made. We're gonna see which sizes we need later. And then when we get in here, we have, this is called a little mat for your movement. So we're gonna be working on this part. This is also a movement holder altogether, where, you know, if you don't want the movement to move, you want to align everything, this is something that's pretty practical. But this one seems a bit cheap. I mean, everything else seems pretty high quality, and I have a bit of reserve around this part here. Now that I'm looking at two more, I find that maybe the opening tool right here, those are pretty classic. I think that the Bergeron one is just a bit better, and I think that this one might be, you know, it feels just a bit flimsy in the hand. I do have the original ones right here. That's the original variant or vintage one from Switzerland, and I think I have a second one as well. They still make those, so they're hammer tone, really well made, and they're not, you know, as flimsy as those. It just seems like, you know, it's just not as qualitative. Then here, what do we have? It's maybe a bit of a better one that I've seen before. So this is basically serving as a pin remover. In this case, we're not really gonna need this. We have a knife. It's a pretty classic watchmaker's knife, which serves basically to open or remove a bezel, remove anything like a caseback. Again, the whole kit is a bit overkill for just putting this watch together. I think it's something that's going to be of very good use if, again, you're not only using it for that one kit. I think it's something that might be perfect for anyone that will use it on the long run. Everything else seems pretty much on par with the quality of what we're expecting from a pretty much high-end kit. If you were to buy everything from Switzerland in this case, with something of this quality, the kit would most probably cost you 3 or 4 times what he's charging. So I think it's pretty honest, and as well you have a pretty good case here. So I think that's really good for the price. It's very respectable. Before we begin, cleaning workspace, we have it. Ample lighting, I think we do, and a relaxed mind. Pretty relaxed right now. We're filming, not in trade mode. It's pretty cool for me to actually do this. So let's dive in and let's look at this.
These are 2 of the more commonly used Japanese movements in a mechanical watch today. This is the Seiko NH35 movement, and this is the Miyota 8 series. For all mechanical movements, we should be extremely careful with the balance wheel and the escapement. These components determine the accuracy of your work. If you have a movement with a date function, do not adjust the date now, as you won't know if the hour wheel is within plus or minus 4 hours from midnight. You want to wear finger cuffs while manipulating the movement. Touching the movement with bare hands can leave fingerprints, or even cause the movement to oxidize. For most movements, the largest solid piece of metal keeping most base plates extend to the side of the movement, so it's generally safe to hold a movement like this. Avoid applying pressure to the rotor. Never hold a movement like this. Be very careful with the standard movement holders, like these, as they can clamp down on the balance wheel or the rotor and damage your movement if incorrectly used. If your movement has no watch hands installed, you can also pick up the movement with a pair of tweezers by its hour wheel post. Use these slightly thicker parts of your tweezers for a better grip. Wind up the movement slightly, and you should see the movement running. From a good rule of thumb, it's not to touch anything that moves in a movement unless you know what you're doing with the individual components.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take out the movement, we're gonna lay it down here, and we're gonna look at what we need to do next. Before installing the dial, you need to install the hour wheel, spring in the movement. Take note which side is the top side, and that's what we were saying here. It's sitting right here. Okay, so this is the spring or the spacer. I'm gonna open it. It's one of those parts when you remove watches from their cases, you remove the dials, it's the first thing that actually falls. So bottom part down, and we just did. What do we have here? We have a dial, so it's sandwiched, and we do have the feet right here. Therefore, he's just telling us, because we have the top and the bottom, because of the dial being a black dial, you're gonna see me using the little pump, cleaning it. Everything catches onto the black, so you're gonna see right here the post, okay, right here is perfectly centered, and we should get into properly aligning this whole movement. Also, what's very important, you're gonna see the date right here being perfectly centered. Right now the dial doesn't sit all the way in, it will sit in properly in a few seconds. Then what we're gonna do, we're gonna be assembling the hands most probably, and then we're gonna do the rest. So the movement holder, I think, is what we had right here. Okay, perfect. So we have basically a whole kit right here. So you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's pretty easy. You have a stack of hands. The GMT hand is the first one at the bottom. This one is the one that has the biggest hole at the bottom. Then you have the hour hand, which is the second hand in the lot. Obviously, you're gonna see here it is a bit bigger, the hole. Then you have the minute hand, and then the seconds hand, which are on the top. Here we're gonna see, yeah, so we see basically 4 different levels. The harder part is basically handling the hands and prepping them for installation. So we have another hand right here. Now we're gonna go for a minute hand. You guys have no idea how relaxing this is for me versus buying and selling watches every day. It has a lot of added value for me in terms of how relaxing it is to just play around with watches. Okay, there you go. So we have the minute hand. Just find those tweezers to be a bit too pointy. You can always bring them down a bit and just shave them. I like them a bit thicker to work with, especially on hands, because they are quite easier to work with when we're using those, but I do like them. They're pretty good overall. You're gonna appreciate your watch a lot more when you're touching it this way, when you're assembling it and getting to the point of knowing what it means to actually put it together, more than, you know, just buying a watch and here's my money and let me use it. You know, then you appreciate how hard the work is, how delicate the work is. First of all, we're going to be assembling the GMT hand, and we're going to do that by adjusting the rest. So let's start by finding the midnight. Finding the midnight is very important. If, let's say, it's 6 o'clock and your hour hand is a few minutes away when you're setting the 6 o'clock timing, you're gonna see it's gonna bug the hell out of you. What we're gonna try to do here is find the midnight. We're gonna be aligning the GMT hand first for the midnight, then we're gonna be playing around. We're gonna do another 24 hours, then we're gonna set the hour. We're gonna do another 24 hours. As long as everything is aligned, do them step by step. Obviously, we see that a lot even on brand new watches and on a lot of vintage watches, where let's say your date is going to change at 1, 2, 3 a.m. or even before. That just means that the hands were not lined up or they went out of alignment over time. That happens. It's not something that's technically very advanced. You just need to remove the hands, realign the whole movement at midnight, and then you just put the hands one by one, checking at every step. I've learned that the hard way. From my experience, that's what he should have said, more or less. It's a bit important to align that. So I think this is part of something that's pretty easy to work with. So let's start with the midnight. Let's find it once. I don't know if it's one way or the other. Okay, perfect. So now it changed towards the 11. So in this case, the movement has to be turned towards the top, and we are the second click, second position, so setting up the time. And in this case, it's a slow moving date. So the date window is going to change, and as soon as it clicks, I know we're at midnight. What we have to do now is basically take a GMT hand, line it up on the watch itself, just play around with the hand, line it up, and now we're ready to press. What is very important is basically to align everything. So now we can see that we have a GMT hand that's out of alignment, and we're going to be aligning it perfectly. It's not difficult. You just have to take your time. Keep your breathing in. Don't breathe too much. Don't lose any control. There's nothing stressful about this thing. It's only the time to just relax, find the sweet spot. Even though it takes you 5 minutes to find it, it's gonna be pretty easy. It's just a matter of getting used to working in micro detail. Obviously, if you're someone who sweats a lot, who stresses a lot, I'd say take a good nap, sleep before, just relax, and you're gonna do very well. Let's see here, and that's not only applied to this, it's applied to a lot of things in watchmaking. What we have here, it's the tool. We're gonna press it. We're gonna see if we're lined up, and if not, we're gonna have to remove it again. So what I'm doing here is finding the midnight. Let's see. Perfect. So now I know that it's changing here, and we're pretty much lined up. Let me see if there's any play in the hand. There's sometimes a bit of play. Yeah, so on this movement there's a bit of play, but it's not gonna be a big thing. So now we know it's lined up. We're gonna be moving towards the hour hand. Ideally, you have to hold the hour hand or any hand sideways like this, and then just slightly just drop it in position slowly like that. Okay, obviously we have to be really careful with the way we're gonna position it. Then I'm gonna take a loop to make sure that it's in place. Also, what you're gonna feel is that there's the post, the hour wheel that we call. The hour wheel or any other wheels are just, you're gonna see the hand just sitting into place. Obviously it's just sitting on top, and then we're gonna just press one by one. So basically this one I've used already. I'm gonna put it back. Now I'm gonna go to the hour hand, and we're gonna see where we're heading. Let's just loop it, see how good it is. So now I'm pretty much lined up. All I have to do is just press it in place. Just gonna take the loop this time, do it in a very easy way. Okay, just put it in place, You see, I didn't press it correctly, so now I have to realign it, take my time. Okay, perfect. So now it's in. Both hands are moving together. Obviously, our hand is moving at a different rate. And here, that's what we want to see. When we put it at 12 o'clock, we want to see that the GMT hand is lined up top to bottom, and that's exactly where it is. Now I'm just gonna bring it to midnight. It's starting to change, and then you see there's a bit of a loose in the hands. Those movements are not the most precise, but it does a pretty good job. I'd say it's very good for this type of movement, the type of alignment we have here. We have an accurate hour and GMT. Let's align them perfectly, so then we're gonna have a perfect stack when midnight comes. It's gonna be a bit harder to align because now we have three hands, so you have to be making sure that everything just sits correctly, and then there you go. The hands are stacked. Now we have a minute hand. This one is gonna be starting to be a bit more difficult. It's smaller, so we're using both hands steady. Just put it on right there, and then what we have is the third hand. Obviously, you're gonna see it's gonna take you a bit more time to find the third position. Obviously, it's much smaller. See, it's a bit of a hit and miss, especially if you're not doing this every day. Actually, this loop is good. I just find it a bit heavy for what I'm used to. Therefore, that's why I'm holding it. That's why I prefer bigger tweezers, because they have the tendency of catching on bigger surfaces and a bit more control. So if you're not used to those smaller tweezers on those, because you do have a small contact surface, perfect. So now it's aligned. What's cool, the hour hand and the GMT hand are the same length. And now we're gonna be using the third pushing tool in place. Okay, so now that I clicked in, you're gonna hear this one because it's getting a bit tighter. And we're gonna do the same thing. So we're gonna go. See, we're 2 minutes away or a minute and a half away from midnight, which is pretty acceptable in the industry. What we're going to be looking at right now is basically installing the seconds hand. Again, there's a bit of play in the pillars here in the hour hand, the minute hand, and the GMT hand. There's a bit of play. That's normal. It's not going to be 100% accurate in terms of the lineup, but it's getting pretty close. A lot of vintage movements and a lot of Seikos have that. It's nothing to be alarmed by those movements in any way. I think so far it's going very well. Perfect. So now I got to the point of installing the 2 sheets of plastic, or with the 2 arrows pointing up. Let me find them. Perfect. Let's find the second hand, and we're gonna install it on top. Okay, as it was marked. Okay. Pretty easy so far. Just be careful, because it might actually, if you push too much, it might actually make the whole seconds hand just fly apart. We're going to be just aligning it. Perfect. Everything is properly aligned. And now I just have to use the last tool. Let me see if everything is correctly aligned, which seems to be. It is, I think, pretty much bulletproof in terms of how to use it. So we're going to use the smallest one from the bunch. So this is the blue one. We're going to press right here. And as he said, let's remove the sides. Let's see here if we did a good job. If not, we're going to have to remove it once again. Perfect. And there you go. We have a working watch with the complete second hands. So we see it working. This movement, as you see, it does hack, so it does stop the seconds from moving once we're all the way in. What I'm gonna do now, just to secure the seconds hand, I'm just gonna press a bit more just to make sure it's in place, and it is. So next thing, remove this here. Those are gonna be practical if you ever want to play around with those kind of tools again, and pretty much done. Now it's gonna be the easy part. Okay, I'm just afraid of assembling the bezel itself, that's going to be a bit of a tough one to do. So we have this, we have a complete movement. We're going to be cleaning the movement assembly, and most probably we're just going to have to remove a bit of dust. So what I'm going to do is I have one of those here called those little bell. Already this is something that you can use as well. Just use a glass. Those are practical for watchmakers when they're cleaning or when they're disassembling a watch. Looking at the case, so what do we have? We have a case protector for the crystal. We have the back, which is pretty tight, but it's not fully screwed in, so this is pretty easy. And then we have the crown right here, which is a screwed on crown like on most modern sports watches. So let's see how this works here. Okay, we have a bezel and an inner bezel. So what we need to understand here is that those two holes have to align with the 24-hour at the bottom or at the top here. So it's almost like feet, and what we have is 24 hours. So it's easy. So we have the 24-hour here, we have the stem, and don't forget that everything is kind of reversed, and we have to align the stem hole right here. But before that, we have to clean up the whole case. Let's see where everything is. All the dirt from what I see here is outside. Do not touch the inside. Yeah, do not smudge the whole Rodico around. You're gonna be swearing and be unhappy because it's gonna take you 3-4 times the time to actually clean it up. So what I'm doing right now, I have light and I'm trying to reflect on the surface, and I'm gonna see every single dust speckle on the crystal. And because this crystal is highly reflective, we're gonna see all the little defects or little dirt that might be there. Now I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. We're just gonna put in the ring. We're gonna put in the spacer right here for the movement, and hopefully everything is gonna be lined up correctly before putting in the movement. There is right here a little plastic protector on the back. We're gonna remove it because it's full of little speckles and I don't know if it's in or out of the watch. We're gonna use another belt for the rest of the case. As expected, it's very clean. I'm just gonna put it sitting here. We have to pull it out. We're gonna see how this works with this whole movement. So basically we have to slide in the whole movement in here. That was pretty easy, and now it's gonna be a game of aligning everything perfectly with the holder and everything else. This is basically gonna sandwich the dial in place because the dial is not screwed in any way. This is what holds this whole dial assembly all together. I find that this is something that's pretty cool and pretty easy to align. We don't have any dirt, everything is sitting properly, and everything seems to be pretty much lined up. The final alignment is going to be basically in the case itself. So this is pretty easy. If someone ever removed a more modern stem from a movement, we have a little pin right here. We're going to press it. At the same time, we're going to be pulling on the stem right here, and now we're ready to case the movement. We have the movement holder, we have the chapter inside, we have the little spring ring, and what we need to do is basically just try aligning the movement inside. We have the crown, we have the stem. As soon as it goes in, everything should work, and then we just screw the whole back case in place. And we're gonna do the whole assembly right now by turning it, and right here we're gonna see that it needs to be aligned with the rest. What we're gonna do is that we're gonna push everything in. Hopefully everything sits in place correctly, and we're gonna go from there. It's pretty much straight, therefore just watch out, don't press on the rotor, don't damage anything, just press on the ring that is just around the whole movement. Okay, so that's what I'm pressing on. Don't press at the places like the stem. You're also gonna have some spacers here, so just press maybe in diagonal in the hard spots of the plastic, otherwise you might break it. What we have here is the gasket on this one. What's cool is that they've already put silicone on it, so it's pretty sticky, and that should be good. I wouldn't dive with such a watch personally, even though it's technically almost a dive watch with the crown and everything else, because you might pinch the rear gasket or something might be out of aligning and you might just damage the whole movement, dial and everything else. and I'd suggest you do a proper assessment before. Now everything is aligned. I'm always double checking, and also if you do see there's somewhat of a gap between the case back and the case itself, or you see the gasket just popping out from anywhere on the sides, you have misaligned the gasket. Now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna use his tool to close the case back. Again, it's not my favorite one. Doesn't mean it's not gonna hold, and this one seems pretty good overall in terms of the way it's made. So just tighten it to, don't go crazy. It doesn't serve anything to actually destroy the gasket in the back if you over tighten it. So the gasket is supposed to have somewhat of a flex. I'm going to use one of my own microfibers. I'm going to leave the brand new microfibers in the kit. I see a fingerprint of mine on top. I'm just going to be cleaning this off, and there you go. We have a fully assembled watch, and then we're going to line the bezel itself. Let's hope everything is going to be correctly aligned. Very easy, and now we have a complete watch working. We're gonna look at the Timegrapher on it as well. I'm pretty curious to see how well it holds time as well. Now, for the sake of the video, it took me maybe 45 minutes, an hour. If I was by myself, not filming, not anything, most probably it would have taken me 25 minutes or so to do it. It's a pretty well made kit overall. I didn't find any faults so far. It was pretty easy. I like the machining on the whole watch. I find that the case back is of a very high quality, and the case itself as well. If you do like those kind of watches, I think it's pretty good. I think it's also better built than a regular Seiko overall in terms of how it's all put together. I like the case back a lot. I like the shape of it. It does resemble a more vintage type of watch with the kind of curved lugs towards the bottom. Is it something that I would wear at 42 millimeters? Maybe not, but overall it doesn't seem, or it doesn't look like a 42 millimeters at all. We're gonna see what it looks like right now on the wrist. It's pretty easy here. We have a quick release type of band. Buckle always at 12 o'clock. So I always like to actually go in reverse. It's much easier to actually push in the part with a quick release, and I actually push the other side in. From my experience, it's the easier way of doing it. You can also try the other way around, but I find it's much easier. You see, even with the little bit of nails, which I don't have, I can just push it in and it just sits properly. Let's see how this whole watch sits on the wrist, and I think it's pretty good. I'm not gonna give it away anymore, guys. I'm gonna keep it for myself. It's not true. We're gonna be seeing how it looks. Actually, for the 42 millimeter watch, it looks pretty darn good. There you go. So it sits pretty high, obviously, because it's a GMT. The movement is a bit more complex. The case is pretty well made, and I think that the colors also differ a lot from the fact that Rolex has actually never made the GMT and the Coke colors so far in the ceramic models. I find that overall it doesn't feel like this size. We're gonna measure it. We're gonna see how well it does. The bezel is at 42 millimeters. The case itself, because I'm always measuring here on those type of watches, it's at 42 and a half, and diagonal 42 and a bit. And yeah, it's a 42 millimeter watch. It doesn't feel like a 42. I'm gonna take back what I said a few minutes ago. It does feel pretty good. You can also use this as a strap monster. You can use so many different types of straps. And let's see what the size is in terms of the lugs. So for 22 millimeters, it's a bit on the bigger side, but this complements the fact that it's a 42, so it does make the whole watch look a bit smaller. I find that this is overall a good watch. I think that he does an amazing job. Again, have we used the whole kit? No, I don't think that the whole kit is necessary for someone who already has a lot of tools. If you're just starting in the watchmaking game, or if you really are a big fan of watchmaking, I think it's a pretty cool kit to work with. And overall, I think that the watch is very well made. We're gonna see how well the watch works. Let's see where we're heading here. Actually, the whole stack, everything lined up perfectly. The hand was perfectly aligned. Not a problem assembling the watch. Normally with vintage watches, you always have a few watchmakers that had a bit of fun before, and they actually messed around a few things. Therefore, this one being a new kit, it's very easy to work with. And let's see how... Okay, perfect. So what do we have here? We have a pretty good amplitude here. We have plus or minus 0 seconds a day, even though it shows -1. You see we're even at in the plus a bit. Error beat, it's kind of normal. It's a Seiko movement. The error beat is always a bit higher. That's not a big thing. So you can expect 2-3 seconds a day from a watch like that in a kind of nominal type of space. If we're putting it sideways, let's see how it's going to react. It's pretty much reacting in the same way right here. Maybe the amplitude is going to go down a bit. Yeah, as I said, as you see, it's going down from 285 to 270, maybe even a bit lower. And in this case, it's losing maybe a few seconds a day. I think it's pretty good. It's a pretty good watch overall. And I think that if you want to have fun for, for someone who wants to have a gift or anything, I think it's a good choice. Again, I'm not paid by him in any way. It was just sent to me for me to make some content about watches, and it's pretty cool to actually be able to put a watch all together. And I am a big fan of someone who will actually go ahead and learn. Maybe it's going to bring more people in the industry of watches. I think this is a good start for anyone who's younger, even someone in his mid-20s, mid-30s who really wants to start. So what I'm going to do here is that we're going to give this watch away separate from the kit. I'm going to give them to 2 different viewers on the website. Please follow the website and the instructions. So as soon as we hit 1,000 entries, we're going to be picking 1 person to win the watch and 1 person to win the kit. I hope every single one of you is going to be happy with that. If you want to participate to the draw, please go to the website. You're going to have an entry right there. Every single email and name is going to get 1 entry. Please don't be spamming. If you did like the video, please subscribe. If you do like those watches, please go and see DIY Watch Club. I'm going to put the link in the video. And thank you again to Quinn Lin from DIY Watch Club. I had no expectations whatsoever. I'm pretty happy overall. As you see, it's working well. I'm not deceived by the quality of the build at all. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you watched so far, please comment GMT. And obviously, if you do like the watch, please go to the website. You're going to win it. You're going to win those. It's going to be on me in terms of the shipping. I'm going to ship it anywhere in the world. It's going to be a pleasure to do so. Thank you guys. Enjoy the week and have a great day.